Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Unrestricted Sports. Today we are talking about Brady versus Belichick. This is a big topic, and I know a lot of people disagree about who's more responsible because obviously both of them are equally, or not equally, but somewhat responsible for the success the Patriots have had. I'm going to lead it right off with what I think, and personally, the answer is very clear. It's mostly Brady. It's mostly Brady. This is purely what it is. This is just how it is. Look at what Belichick did before he got Brady. He didn't do very much. His record was terrible. He was clearly a defensive genius, don't get me wrong, but his record wasn't very good. Yes, he got the Browns to their last playoff win, ironically against the Patriots, but after that, the Browns completely fell apart. Partially his fault, partially because the Browns were relocating to become the Ravens before the Browns were brought back under new management. But that was partially because they weren't really winning, and there was really no incentive to keep the team there, at least from the owner perspective of it, which wasn't very well received in Cleveland at all, I should add. But really looking at what Belichick did before he got Brady wasn't that impressive. His record wasn't good, and his culture wasn't really setting in very well with a lot of places. Similar to like what we see with a lot of Belichick clones who try to be him, they don't really ever kind of take off because the culture doesn't really stick if you're not in New England.
Right. So I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I think a lot of it has to go on Brady's shoulders for their success as a duo. Like you mentioned, Belichick's record and statistics before Brady were pretty subpar, to say the least.
Yes, and it is worth noting he had a really good quarterback in Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, I think.
And even then, the record wasn't amazing.
Yeah, Super Bowl 36 is a prime example. Technically, Tom Brady wasn't a rookie, but I'm going to call him a rookie. He won Super Bowl 36 as a rookie. Their defense was good, but Brady still had to score points as an essentially a rookie.
People tried to demerit what Brady did in his early Super Bowls, saying, "Oh, well, the defense, he was just managing the game." First of all, if your quarterback isn't managing the game, you're having a really bad season. Your quarterback should be managing the game because that's how you win games, first of all. Secondly, if you look at what Brady did in those games, yeah, the numbers weren't incredible, but the numbers were better than the quarterbacks he was playing. He still outperformed other players who played his position on the other team in those Super Bowls. On top of it, he led game-winning drives in all of his Super Bowls, in those early Super Bowls, and in basically all of his other Super Bowls, including 53, because that game was still close, even though it wasn't really necessary for them to score those last points. They were really... He always had come from behind wins. Those were his wins.
I think a major aspect...
He led his team down the field and won those games.
Yeah, I think a major aspect of it, though, for Brady, on Brady's side of it, after this I'm going to get into the godness of Belichick, but Brady's level of respect, like we've mentioned, bum receivers are almost Pro Bowlers. Julian Edelman, Gronk, obviously most notable tight end in the NFL today. I actually just thought about this way off topic. I wonder how Gronk is going to compare with, or stats-wise, I guess, compare to George Kittle and Travis Kelce. Anyways,
that will be interesting to watch.
Moving on to Belichick. I think Belichick is the reason the Patriots are the dynasty. I think Brady's the reason is the reason that the Patriots were able to continuously win Super Bowls, but I think Belichick is the reason that Belichick is the driving force behind all those Super Bowls, if you catch what I'm saying.
Yeah, here's the thing. Belichick's culture does work. And Belichick's culture is the reason why the Patriots were so successful.
Right.
But that's not to be confused with Belichick being the driving force behind those Super Bowls. The driving force behind those Super Bowls was Tom Brady being willing to kind of take the hit for Bill Belichick's culture. Think about it. He was the reason why that culture was accepted by the locker room, because he bought into it, and no one's going to question Tom Brady. No one was going to question the quarterback leading the locker room in those early years. The defensive players already weren't going to question it because they worked closer with Belichick and kind of understood him in those early Super Bowls. Now, this is not the same for later on. They probably still had to buy in with Tom Brady. But offensively, Tom Brady was the reason why that culture stuck, and it's the reason why that culture stuck. Think about it. You're a young kid who's coming into the league, or you're a guy who's coming from another team who, isn't used to being treated the way you get treated when you're with Belichick. Tom Brady comes up to you and says, "Oh, don't worry about it. That's just how he is. Just shrug it off and keep playing and try to do what he wants." That wouldn't work if Tom Brady didn't buy into that system. If Tom Brady didn't fall on the sword and be the first person who's always criticized in the locker room. And Belichick really dug at Brady. So, I'm going
to list off a few things here for Belichick. I agree with you, but Brady didn't have the talent immediately out of college. He was good. Probably would still be a starting quarterback today if Belichick hadn't drafted him. But I don't think Brady would have been immediately good like he was with Belichick and the Patriots. I'm going to list off a few things here.
I disagree with that. Brady was incredibly driven by the fact that regardless of who picked him that late in the draft, he would have had the same drive. Tom Brady.
I still think he came into a good system, though. Maybe not a good offensive system, but a good culture.
Well, yeah, obviously they developed him really well. But the fact of the matter remains that Tom Brady was the same. He had that same drive for his entire life. High school, came in as a freshman quarterback, had never played football before, and he was determined to become the starter. Look at college. He had to split reps with a guy who didn't even end up playing football. And Brady was the consensus guy who everyone in the locker room wanted to lead, but the coaches weren't putting him in because the pressure was on them, because the guy who had came in, Brady was committed to Michigan, was committed to being their starter, and then they brought in the number one QB draft prospect, or number one QB prospect for college in the country from high school. They completely undercut Brady, and Brady didn't say, "Oh, well, I want to transfer out of Michigan and go somewhere easier where I will be the starter." He said, "I'm going to keep playing to prove that I'm the starter." And ultimately, by the end of the season, he did become the consensus in the locker room that he was the quarterback leading that team. That was just who Brady was. Now, the reason why Brady was so successful with the Patriot Way wasn't because the Patriot Way somehow changed his mindset. The Patriot Way already was his mindset. He just happened to get lucky with a coach that already instilled it, and Brady helped propagate it. So that's where I disagree. I do agree with you that Brady would have still been a successful quarterback. And just as I think that this is another thing. I still believe that Belichick would have been a successful coach eventually. I still think both of them would have won Super Bowls. I don't think they would have both been as successful had they not been paired together, but I still believe that by the end of it, both of them would be considered the greatest of all time in both of their respective branches, I suppose. Belichick is the greatest coach, and Brady as the greatest quarterback and greatest player. I think that would have happened regardless for both of them. But being together enhanced that. But I don't agree that Brady somehow was changed by the Patriot Way, because he already had that mentality of thinking of the Patriot Way. He just cut out the part that revolved around being ruthless and cutting players that no longer had their usefulness.
Okay, playing devil's advocate here in favor of Belichick. I'm gonna just say a few things. Let me just say these 3-4 things, then you can talk about them after. But I think a big part of Tom Brady's success, and I know you disagree, is Belichick took a chance on Brady in the 6th round. you spoke about that already. But I think that's a big reason why. I
do agree. Belichick had the insight to say, I can't believe Tom Brady, a championship winner coming out of his senior year, where he had to fight to get where he's clearly got a fighter's mentality to take the starting job. I can't believe that Tom Brady dropped this far. He did have that insight to say that, and he was the only guy who really even cared about Tom Brady, which is if someone did what Tom Brady did back then, now people would be he'd be at least a second round pick.
Yeah.
Because he won a championship.
I think though Belichick was such a mastermind of a football coach, and his play calling is down to a science, that I think it was just such an easy transition from his Michigan system into Belichick's system.
But that's the thing. Belichick was a mastermind of football, but he didn't have enough people in the locker room buying in, and he didn't have a voice in the locker room who really backed him up. Tom Brady was that voice. Without Tom Brady backing him up and saying, oh, don't worry, that's just how Bill Belichick is, he's just being himself. Don't worry about it. You're fine. Keep practicing and keep doing what he wants you to do. Without someone to say that, Belichick needed Brady more than Brady needed Belichick. Belichick had no one to really do that for him.
See, but here's the thing: is we've only got one example of this so far, and this upcoming season and seasons to come is going to be big too. But Belichick hasn't done a lot in New England without Brady. He had that 2008 season where he led the Patriots to an 11-5 season with Matt Castle. Obviously, Matt Castle's not an excellent quarterback.
Here's the thing about Matt Castle.
And the defense was stellar. But the Patriots still did well. And Matt Castle hasn't been able to return to that same level since.
I disagree. The only reason Belichick was successful that year wasn't because Matt Castle was another brainchild of Belichick or because it was a system QB situation, which I don't think you were trying to say, but there's going to be people who say that.
I think Matt Castle did what he had to do to win. Defense was the reason.
Tom Brady threw 50 touchdowns the previous year in 2007. He got hurt on a play that's now banned in the NFL, by the way, for everyone who's wondering. In the 2008 season, coming off of their Super Bowl loss, which was an incredible stroke of luck for Eli Manning. He was, in a year that he had thrown 50 touchdowns, 25 of them went to Randy Moss. In the course of, with the same weapons, by the way, and the same offensive line, because there wasn't very much change in the 2008 roster, so there was a ton of optimism around New England's chances of winning another Super Bowl that year. There wasn't very many changes at all, and definitely none that were very significant. Right? In a year where Tom Brady threw 50 touchdowns, 25 of them went to Randy Moss. Matt Castle had 25 touchdowns all season with that offensive core.
Yeah. He
had half the touchdowns that Tom Brady had. And at that, he had as many touchdowns for his entire year that Brady threw to Moss in an entire year. That alone disproves the Castle argument. There was supreme talent on that team. It would have taken they'd have to be on their third string quarterback for them to have a bad season. Tom Brady was undefeated in the regular season and was undefeated all the way to the Super Bowl. Matt Castle led them to 11-5. They missed the play.
I think we should.
And they
I think this is a topic that obviously, as of right now, has its answers.
This is a topic all on its own.
But I think that the Belichick without Brady portion of this episode, you really can't. There's really not a huge argument for it. I think Jarrett Stidham is going to have to prove a lot in his first 2 years to show that Belichick is as good without Brady as he was with Brady.
Yeah, if he has to be as successful, he has to win a Super Bowl. He has to win a Super Bowl with another quarterback.
I think I don't think he has to win a Super Bowl. I think that's a lot of I think that's a lot of pressure to put on Jarrett Stidham right away.
Well, Brady has to. Well, according to a lot of people who don't like Brady has to win another Super Bowl. Brady has to win another Super Bowl to prove that that it was more him than Belichick.
I think Jarrett Stidham needs to lead the Patriots to a winning record. If the Patriots can get a winning record and do well in their division, that proves that Belichick can have success without Brady.
I
Success
still
in the
maintain
AFC
that
East.
it has to at least be a Super Bowl appearance.
No.
At least.
You have the Buffalo Bills, who are a threat in the AFC East without Brady. You have the Miami Dolphins, who got better this offseason. That's no joke. Whoever starts at quarterback, I think, is going to be the right fit for them. It definitely will not be Josh Rosen. It'll be Fitzpatrick or Tua. And I think that defense is good enough. They got Kyle Van Noy. They got Byron Jones. That defense is improved and stellar. And if that offense can step up just a notch, you're looking at a I hate to say it, a playoff contending Dolphins team. And if the Patriots can't do well in their division, it proves that Belichick is nothing without Brady. But if Belichick and the Patriots and Jarrett Stidham can have a winning record in that division,
the most
then
I'm going for most definitive answer. I'm going for most definitive answer here. The most definitive answer for who's more responsible is one: if Brady wins, if both of them win Super Bowls after parting, then the question is still going to be a debate because both of them will have won a Super Bowl. But
then you could start.
And I do mean but if Belichick wins a Super Bowl with another quarterback, it proves definitively that he can do it without Brady. That definitively proves it. Now, even if that occurred, the reason why Belichick even got the chance to be so successful was because Brady basically bailed him out. Because before that, he was viewed as kind of like he's a defensive coach. It's not really he wasn't a mastermind before he got Brady. The Belichick's claim to fame for being a mastermind of getting the players that nobody wants is Brady. Brady was the first quarterback that he drafted, or really the first player that he ever got, that people later on were like, man, he was a mastermind for pulling that off. Without Brady, Belichick doesn't build that reputation as fast or at all. So I think for right now, you have to say that Brady was more responsible. And depending on whoever wins the Super Bowl first, whether Belichick does it first or Brady does it first, or if they both win one, before that happens, the reason the Patriots were so successful for the first 20 years that Belichick had Brady, the reason they were so successful will always be because of Brady. But that's different from saying that Belichick can't prove that he is just as good as Brady and and can still win without him. That there's a difference there.
Right.
The early 20 years, or I say early 20 years, the first 20 years, that's always going to go to Brady. But Belichick can prove that he doesn't need Brady to be successful anymore. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
that's what I believe.
I think this would be a great episode to come recap at the end of the upcoming season, because the future of Bill 100%. Belichick rides on Jarrett Stidham's shoulders. But
this is something that's going to come back every year.
We don't know if Jarrett Stidham's going to start yet. It's still in the air.
Jarrett Stidham will be the starter. He will be the starter, and he will be a good quarterback.
We'll see, man. Brian Hoyer's back.
Nah. Brian Hoyer is a career backup, and that's not a bad thing. He is really good at being a backup quarterback, and he is very important in the preparation that Tom did when he was in New England. He helped him break down film, although Brady didn't really need him to do that. He broke down film for other players. He was cited as being one of the guys who helped them prepare for Super Bowl 53. As a backup quarterback.
Yes, but think about it this way. Jarrett Stidham sits, Brian Hoyer plays, Patriots go 8-8. Patriots trade, or if they even do worse than that, they could get a good quarterback. The Ohio State quarterback, Justin Fields, I think his name is. I always forget his name. But there are decent quarterbacks coming up, and if Belichick plays his cards right, depending on how he really feels about Jarrett Stidham, he can make it successful in New England.
He's a genius. Belichick wants to prove that he's a genius, so he's going to have Stidham start. He wants to say, you know what, NFL, you think that I can't lose Brady? Well, here you go. I drafted another low-round quarterback and made him successful. That's what he wants to do.
We'll see.
All right.
Anyways.
Well, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. We pretty much covered it as much as we can. And that's really all we can do for the moment until one of these two wins a Super Bowl. Or if neither of them does, then we have a lot more content to cover. But that's it for today's episode, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you can get more unrestricted sports content. Make sure you follow us in our social media links in the description below. And we will see you guys next time. See you.